These four principles will forever change your life for the best, as long as you understand what they truly mean and you are able to apply them diligently to your life. These are principles that I have used myself in my life and in my business, and these are principles that I teach people that I work with, and I teach them to apply the principles inside their own lives, and especially inside their families, because these principles work no matter what, but they are especially effective when applied to a family environment. And today I wanted to finally release a video explaining the four principles, going into a little bit of detail concerning each of them, and hopefully that way you can get a glimpse of the whole thing, of the general of the big picture, and see how they fit together and how they function together. Hi, if you have no idea who I am, my name is Claudiu Manea and I'm a psychologist and a therapist. And for the past 10 years, I've been helping families grow stronger together and function better together. So, like I said, these four principles constitute the basis of my method, and they constitute the basis of the entire system by which I work with families and by which I work with individuals as well, to help them lead better lives. So, without further ado, I am just going to go through the four principles and explain them a little bit so that you see where I'm coming from. The first principle is the God principle. This is the principle that raises the most eyebrows whenever I talk about it, because as you may or may not be aware, religion and faith gets a bad rep these days, and God isn't cool anymore and all of that. However, when you look at the Western world, the Western countries, and you plot out a graph with a line depicting how religious beliefs and people's adherence to a certain religion has gone downhill in the past few decades, and you plot another line pertaining to how anxiety and depression related disorders have increased during the same period, you will start to get a glimpse into how there might be a correlation between these two things. The more people stop believing in God, the more prevailing anxiety and depression related disorders seem to get. Now, as we know, from a scientific point of view, if you use scientific thinking, correlation doesn't mean causation. So just because two things happen at the same time, that does not mean that one is caused by the other. And that is, of course, true in this example as well. However, the data seems to suggest a potential causal relationship between the two. Now, this is insufficiently studied and documented, but I'm just letting you know of this fact, and I'm going to explain a little bit why that is the case. Because if you feel like you are being oppressed by your religion, if you feel that you are being constrained, and you feel that religion takes some of your individual ownership away from you, and you finally decide to set yourself free from all of that old school way of thinking. There is some benefit to doing that, but it is the same benefit as a teenager running away from home because there are some bad things happening in his home. At the start of this whole thing, he might get a feeling of freedom, of being finally set free from all of that, terrible environment that he used to live in. But sooner rather than later, he might become depressed and anxious because now that he is free, he doesn't have a dragon to slay anymore. He doesn't have something to fight anymore. He doesn't have the oppressing authority that he can oppose, and this leaves him with a sense of lack of purpose, and that sense of lack of purpose is something that usually leads to him having feelings of anxiety, depression, and all of that. So take that into account. And when I'm talking about the God principle, I'm not necessarily referring to you going to church or to you doing, let's say, the traditional things that a believer does. Okay, so a believer, whether you're a Christian or some other religion. I am talking though about your relationship to divinity. So when it comes to the relationship with the divinity, people usually fall into three categories. The first category is the believer, someone who accepts and embraces his own faith and his own religion for that matter. The agnostic, which is someone who doesn't deny the existence of God, but doesn't necessarily embrace it as well. So the agnostic is someone who is on the fence about the whole thing. He doesn't reject the idea, but he doesn't fully accept it either. Okay? And the third category is the non-believer or the atheist. No matter which category you fall into, you still have a relationship with divinity. Okay? So whether you're a believer, an agnostic, or an atheist, you still have a relationship with divinity. It's not the same, but there is still a relationship there. So, for instance, if you do not believe in God's existence, you still have a relationship with divinity. And you still have a belief. Because if you are using the scientific way of thinking, you are, or you should be at least, aware that from a scientific point of view, you cannot prove that something doesn't exist. You can simply prove that something does exist. So in you having the belief that God doesn't exist, that would constitute some sort of faith. Because like the belief that God exists hasn't been proven, neither has yours. And your belief is different because a believer's faith might at some point be proven. Yours can never be proven because, like I said, you cannot prove that something doesn't exist. So in my point of view, your belief makes even less sense than the belief of an actual Christian or another believer. And aside from that, like I said, everyone has a relationship with divinity, whether they like it or not. But more so than that, there is a special part of our brains that is specifically dedicated to spiritual beliefs. And the problem, if you do not fix your relationship with divinity, is that by ignoring that side of you, a side of you that is natural and that is a part of all human beings, you are creating a void there. So just like we are social creatures, we are also spiritual creatures. And if you deny that side of you, you are creating a spiritual void. And a spiritual void, in essence, represents a pain that you have. And what do people do with pain, especially chronic pain? Chronic pain usually gets handled in an unhealthy way by some sort of addiction. So by you creating that spiritual void, you are creating a pain for yourself, which sooner or later will get handled by you developing some sort of addiction, or even more than one addiction. So you are putting yourself at risk by not having to deal with that side of you. Now, in the modern world, we have focused very much on science and technology. And I think that that's a good thing, because science and technology have actually improved people's lives tremendously and have improved people's quality of life, which is very, very important. It has increased our lifespan, it has increased our access to resources, and all of the wonderful things that science and technology has done for us. But it is my contention that this has led to us neglecting other parts of ourselves, which were of equal importance. So my thesis is not that we should reject science and technology and start living like primitive cavemen or something like that. My thesis is that we need to remember that aside from science and technology, there are other parts of us that are of equal importance. And those sides are, first of all, our connection to our bodies. And the modern man, the modern being, has become, in most cases, severely disconnected from his or her own body. And this is specifically apparent to anyone who works with people and helps them use their body in any way. So, for instance, physical trainers, yoga practitioners, and anyone who helps people work with their bodies notices that modern people are generally, not all of them, but generally are severely disconnected from their own bodies. So that's one source of major disconnection. And the second source of major disconnection is that we are disconnected from our spirit and from our souls. So this epidemic of anxiety, depression, and all sorts of mental disorders can, at least in part, be explained by this severe disconnection that we have, first of all from our bodies, and second of all from our souls. So that's the first principle. It is the God principle, and it is allowing faith and allowing belief to flow through you naturally, and for you to be at peace and at ease with this happening, with this faith flowing naturally through you. So that is the first principle. The second principle is the principle of order. Now, the universe and matter is organized and disorganized at the same time. And we, as human beings, intervene and apply effort into matter to bring order to chaos. Taking a very, very common example, there is chaos on my desk, so there's a mess on my desk, and I apply effort and I expend energy to bring order to that chaos, and I put things in order, and I tidy up my desk. Okay, so I expend energy and effort to bring order to chaos. What happens after that is that the law of entropy comes into play, and the law of entropy says that every system that is organized tends to become disorganized over time unless further energy is applied to the system. So I tidy up my desk, but if I don't keep on constantly applying some sort of effort into maintaining the order, then the desk becomes a mess again over time. So this principle of order applies to our lives in all areas of our lives, but it especially applies to our families, because a family in which you do not expend some sort of energy and effort to maintain order is a family that is ruled by chaos. And the family that is ruled by chaos cannot function properly. And it is not a family in which the family members are happy, content, and at ease. And you need to constantly apply this effort into maintaining the order, because that is what you're supposed to do, first of all, and second of all, that is the way things work. You should expect everything to turn into chaos as soon as you stop applying and expending energy into it. Okay? The third principle is legacy, and legacy is truthfully the principle that I'm having the most trouble explaining to people whenever I come up to this part. But it goes something like this: we are not to be considered individually in our lives. We, whether we like it or not, constantly share a connection and some ties to our past and to our future. So this principle of legacy is something like this: I am not alone in my life, and I am not to be considered alone in my life. I am drawing from everything that my ancestors have given me, and I am putting forward a lot of things for the ones that come after me. Now, this refers to our children, of course, primarily, but it also refers to other people in general. Extended family, extended social circle, family, friends, and relatives, and so on. So it's not just immediate family. It's not I'm drawing energy from my parents and I'm putting forward energy for my children. It's larger than that. Okay. Of course, the principle of legacy also refers to the subject of material possessions, and it also encompasses the notion of inheritance and all of that. But it is much larger than just that. It encompasses cultural heritage, it encompasses family values, it encompasses family trees and all of that. It's much bigger than just, here's your inheritance, it's passed on from generations and all of that. So think of it as you being a dot on an entire timeline, okay, on an entire timeline of descendants, let's say, and you being at the same time the dot and the timeline. Okay, so this is a notion that's quite hard to explain unless you are aware of some quantum physics. But in quantum physics, a particle and a wave, a particle can behave like a wave in certain conditions, and in other conditions, a wave behaves like just a set of separate particles. It's kind of like that. You are the particle and the wave at the same time. So you are your own individual, but you are all of your family tree at the same time. That's the principle of legacy. Okay? So if it doesn't make complete and total sense to you, I get it, and my apologies for not explaining it to you better, but I will do my best in further videos to explain and to come at the situation from different angles, so that I make sure that everyone gets it as best as humanly possible. Okay? Moving on to the fourth principle, and that is the principle of devotion. Now, the principle of devotion is really important because it is what actually makes us human and what makes us valuable as individuals to those around us. So the principle of devotion has to do with the things that are important to you and the things that you put your best effort behind. So let's say that you're a man and you're a family man, you have a family to support, and you are working tremendously, and you are working overtime, and you are working crazy hours to support your family. Let's say that you are working 18-hour days, you hardly get to see your family, but you do that in order to make sure that they have a nice life, that they do not long for anything, that they do not miss out on things and all of that. The principle of devotion says that the best effort that you put is behind the things that are the most important to you. So if you are working 18-hour days to support your family, but when there comes a time to spend time with your family, you're on your phone, or you're just exhausted, and you don't really connect with them, and you don't really do things together and all of that, then the principle of devotion is there to let you know that if family is important to you, maybe you have a very demanding job and you can't really work less than 18-hour days. It can happen, but at least when you do get a chance to spend time with your family, you should put your best effort into it, and you should be there, and you should be as present as possible, and you should try to connect with them. You should try to show your love and your appreciation for them and all of that. It is because you are devoted to your family, and you are devoted in a very practical and specific way. It's not just an indirect way of working a lot because you are supporting your family. That's an indirect devotion, but you should also apply direct devotion. Okay, so this of course applies to family life, but it also applies to a whole bunch of other things. For instance, professionally, what you choose to devote yourself to is the thing that is the most important to you. And if you choose to devote to the wrong thing, then you are probably not going to get what you are looking for. Okay? So, like I said, these are the 4 principles. These are the principles that constitute the entire system by which I work with individuals and families and help them lead better lives. If you apply them correctly, they will improve your quality of life tremendously. I have seen lives completely changed by applying these 4 principles. They are exceptionally effective, especially when applied to the family environment. So if you want to learn how to apply these 4 principles in your family, you can click the link in the description or the first comment, depending on where you're seeing this. And that will get you to a page where you can register to a challenge, a 30 days challenge, completely free. It won't cost you anything. But it is a 30-day challenge for a stronger family. And throughout the 30 days, each day of the 30 days, you will get an email from me with an activity that you can do with your family to put one of the 4 principles in action. And you, by doing this, get a chance to see the principles actually working in your family and on your family. Now, even if you don't do all of the 30 tasks that I lay out for you, even if you do 1 in 2, let's say, you will still get tremendous benefit from applying these things. So if you're interested in doing that, click the link, like I said, join the challenge. It's completely free. Do the task, the everyday tasks that I lay out for you, and experience the transformation that these principles can bring to your life and to your family. So if your family is important to you, and if these principles resonate with you, or at least you are curious to see how they work, I would like to encourage you to join the challenge, and hopefully I'll see you on the inside. So I hope that this has been helpful to you. It has been a long video. My sincere thanks to anyone who made it this far. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this. If you've enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to get notified of whenever I post something new. Whether I will see you on the next one or not, like I said, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this, and I hope you have a great one. Thank you and take care. Bye.